I appreciate it, Andrew. And seriously, I mean, what you're doing for the sports industry, for us as entrepreneurs to look at and keep up with everybody else, it's really incredible. So it's an honor to be on this pod. I cannot tell you enough how much this means to me. I think it's super dope what you're doing. You're really changing the industry in a good way. A couple precursors since I'm outside.
I love it.
If you hear a cop car or a dog barking,
hear a UFO maybe these days. We don't know.
Yeah,
what's
you
going
never
on.
know. You never know. But in Florida right now, training and also working, so just enjoying time and really just grinding. So it's been pretty fun. But no, my first question, right before we started, I said, why not just start recording it? So as a copywriter right now, what's your thoughts on this whole AI movement? Like, what are you doing to adjust? I mean, obviously it doesn't take away creativity from the human mind, but at the same time, it's got to be. I'm using ChatGPT to do things. So what's your thoughts on it? How do you use it? How do you not use it?
Yeah, I love it. Well, ChatGPT, and first off, appreciate all the kind words, but going back, ChatGPT, I honestly, it was like a blessing and a curse in two ways, and I'll explain. The blessing is it's definitely eased the creative process for me a little bit, where it's made things easier, where I'm just like, I need something quick, or, I need to shoot an email, and boom, here's the criteria, plug and place. So I think that's going to change the game from that standpoint. But where I've been also optimistic is that I've been, like the threads I do or some of the posts I put out on LinkedIn or Twitter, I was like, let's see if it can create one, or let's see if it can even find some of this info, and it couldn't do it. And I was like, let's go. That means someone can't just come in and like kind of, just use ChatGPT or AI. So I don't know, but it's going to be crazy to see where it is in 5 or 10 years. Like, there's scary components, but I also think control it, harness it, let Elon Musk tell us what to do, and we'll be good. But,
I was actually watching, one of my favorite entrepreneurs is Alex Hormozi. I think that he's just insane, but at the same time, I think that he does some really cool work. But he was talking about chat, and I mean, we're on version 12, 13, 14 of the iPhone.
Yeah.
And chat's on version about to roll out 4. I mean, it just rolled out 4. I just got that premium version. But just imagine what version 15, 16, is it going to be human? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm here for it. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting, but
it's
crazy.
So cool. It's so cool. I mean, think about this, like video games 20 years ago, I mean, they were like little pixels. When I was growing up, you're like, I mean, this is cool, but you go back and play, you're like, yo, this was crap. And then now the games are so realistic. And I was talking with Dave Anderson on the podcast the other day, and he was talking about how they're trying to get like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams like start to get biomechanics to make guys run how they run in like real life into games. And I'm like, yo, this stuff is getting wild.
Crazy. No, it's going to be cool. I think that's going to be the fun part, is who can get most creative with it. I can't wait to see that. I mean, I think it's going to be really cool to see some engineers are going to get really popular really fast, and it's going to be really cool to see it.
Yeah, it is. Are you using any AI for your training? Think that's a perfect gateway right into, just finished up your career at Penn State. What do you got going on? And that whole route. And then we'll keep it light this whole time, man, and have some fun with it.
Yeah, cool. So played in the Rose Bowl. I'll kind of give you a breakdown of where I've been at. Played in the Rose Bowl. It was amazing. Everything I could ask for in a game. Utah, got to give it to them. Hell of a team. Really enjoyed playing them. Got a lot of mutual respect for them, but came away with the dub. And it was just so cool to see a culmination of a lot of hard work by a lot of great men in that locker room come together. We had really high hopes for the season, I think even higher than the Rose Bowl. But, I mean, it's the granddaddy of them all. Can't be too mad about it. I was glad we finished on a high note. It was cool to be able to come off the field and see all my teammates' smiling faces. And just, that was a very cool moment for me. I really don't like to make it anything about me whatsoever, but it really wasn't. When I was walking off, it was really looking at all the fans and looking at all my teammates, and I really got to take that mental picture in my head of that moment that no one can ever recreate. Not even AI. Nobody in the world can recreate that picture in my mind, which is really cool. So I appreciate Penn State. I appreciate the fan base. I appreciate the family. I'll always be a Penn Stater, and it's it was a great career, one that, I think was definitely ready to be done. But, man, a lot of memories, a lot of really cool memories. So.
Yeah, and, dude, you got to play with your brother. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the biggest blessings, if not the biggest, is the opportunity. I mean, Liam and I, we really got close when he was in 8th grade and I was a senior in high school. That was when we really started to become super close. And then I left for college, and so we never got to play on the same team. We never were able to experience that together. Even in middle school, all the way back, we were never on the same team. Not football, basketball, anything that we played. It was always, him looking up to me and me trying to coach him up. And to see him come to Penn State and be able to play with him on the same team, man, it's something that you really can't put into words, just because I got so much mutual respect for what he did. He got there on his own, had a bunch of scholarship offers, chose to come to Penn State because he wanted to be a part of that family. I know he made the right decision, obviously, and he knows he did too. But, those 2 years, the first year just having him around and being going to dinner all the time, and him coming over to my house, me even stopping at his dorm and seeing him, and it was just such a blast. And then this past year, what we've gone through together of creating a business and doing some things off the field, and it really grew our relationship. He's my best friend in the world. So I wouldn't change it for anything. It was just the best experience ever.
Yeah, and kind of interesting on that, because my brother, I have 2 younger brothers. One's 2 years, one's 4 years younger. So the middle one I always got to play with, but then the youngest one I didn't. So it's cool you kind of, because of the 5th year,
right.
And the whole extra year you got to play. But going into that a little bit, what did you see change from your time? And obviously NIL is going to play into this, and that's where I'm kind of leading. But,
right.
What did you see change from the time you got there to when you finished, taking out all the pandemic and all that craziness? What was the difference in just college athletics? Because even I saw it, and you had a whole extra year, 2 years, than me. I'm just curious, like, that dynamic, because it feels so different to me.
I mean, really, I had a 9-year full circle college experience, and I'll explain why that's the case. I got to play for Penn State and be a part of that team for 6 years. But I committed, which is unheard of nowadays, I committed my sophomore year going into my junior year of summer.
Wow.
I committed to Penn State. I didn't look back, and I took no other phone calls. I loved everything about it. That was my dad. He suggested to me, hey, I started getting offers after my freshman year, or I got one offer after my freshman year, and then I got a bunch after my sophomore season on varsity. And I was blessed to be able to be in that position. And he said, what would be smart is we take this tour, we go across the country, whatever you need to do to find your spot. But in the end, let's commit to a school, and you could be a leader in that recruiting process. You could be a leader for the guys coming in, a leader, be an extension of the coaching staff, and really be able to help Coach Franklin and build a class that you want to be a part of. See the guys that are coming in the building, see the guys who are, coming on the recruiting trips and have an impact in some sort of way. So I committed very, very early with that plan in mind, and I'm so glad I did. I got to meet so many great players and some of my best friends in the world. I got to, I remember like it was yesterday, KJ Hamler sending him edits of us 2 playing in Beaver Stadium, and then Tariq Castro Fields calling me the day of signing day saying that he's coming, one of my best friends in the world. So it was moments like that I'm at the time, I didn't know exactly, Dad, I want to go on all these visits, but, man, I'm so happy that I committed early and chose the Penn State family early.
You took a different route than me, man. I used all 5 of my official visits. I went out. I made sure I was partying at all of them, having a good time. I said, I'm going to max it out, and then I'll pick. And then I ended up going to prep school, and it was a whole crazy situation. So I actually got more than 5 because of that. But and you got to play with our guy Adam Brenneman a little bit. So
no, I didn't get to play with him. I didn't get to play. I'm not that old. No offense to Adam, but I'm not that old. I'm not that old.
Adam is a little older. He feels like our age, but he's,
Yeah, he's a great dude. He's crushing it right now, which is awesome to see. I think he's doing some special things too in the industry. I think he's going to be, what he's doing with his company and himself. I think that it's going to be cool to watch him, fellow Penn Stater. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads us perfectly into kind of the NIL route
Yeah.
and how that is, expanding these horizons. Because even I came out of it right before, Adam came out of it right before, and
Yep.
now it's like someone like yourself that actually used name, image, and likeness and that ability to bolster forward. And I think it's just, what's your experience around it? What are you seeing? What was the benefits? Wherever you want to go with
Right.
it.
So just going back to where we kind of started. So I committed early, and so I saw the last kind of true form of recruiting. Coming to the visits and seeing the facilities and being a part, getting and sitting on a panel of the different players who are there and being able to talk to them about their experiences and what are the dorms like, what are the parties like, what's the atmosphere like, what's Beaver Stadium like, what are the coaching staffs like. But now it's shifted. It's a lot more about what's this cash look like?
Yeah.
What can they do for me for my brand? Which no harm, no foul. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but it's different. I committed off the truest form. I committed because I loved the school. I committed because I love Penn State. And I'm not saying that people aren't doing that still, but let's call a spade a spade. When there's millions of dollars being thrown around to a 16, 17-year-old kid, it influences decisions. I know it would have influenced mine. I'm not going to be naive to say it wouldn't have. So I don't know. It's a different world. I would love to really sit down, with a couple of the kids that I'm seeing getting these multi-million dollar deals. I've talked to recruits and people that have, been a part of the recruiting process now. It definitely is different. But I would love to talk to some of the kids that are getting these super crazy lucrative deals and just see where their head's at, because that's the first thing that I feel like we are kind of losing in the college sports realm right now. And I love that Penn State's not completely falling into that trap. They're helping, athletes see what they can do at Penn State. There's a lot of opportunities. I think that they're going to be a front runner, but across the country, there's just a lot of cases of, what's happening. Is there bad actors in play? How are kids going to deal with the pressure now? Okay, your contract is quite literally out there, and you're 17 years old, and now you got to commit to a school and perform. And if you don't, what happens? It's a lot of pressure. It really is.
Yeah, what do you think about something or someone like Jaden Rashada?
Yeah.
And that whole, $13 million or whatever to go to Florida, backs out. Now he's at Arizona State, and they're saying he's not even getting any money there.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole story, but what are your thoughts kind of on that space? That's crazy.
I just remember for me, when I was at that stage, I was just excited to go to school. I was excited to go to college. I was excited to play in front of 100,000 people. So the fact that now he has to go through this and all of his business is out there. There's not one thing that, is not shown. He's on social, and that's good, and building his brand and everything in between, which is great. I'm not saying that's not great, but it's just not as pure. It's not the true college recruiting experience. It's not, man, I want to play in the blue and white, or I want to play in the crimson. I want to play at LSU because of XYZ, because the coaching staff appreciates me and loves me. I'm not saying that the coaching staffs aren't, but at the same time, is it true? Is it pure? Is it or is it just money nowadays? And that's where I think there's going to have to be regulations. I think that the NCAA's got to kind of address what's going on a little bit better in my mind. They can't just stand and be on the sideline anymore. Somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to do something, because if not, it's going to get into we talked about the Wild Wild West. Yeah. It could be a slippery slope. So I just hope that the decision makers are going to, make the right decision for the kids.
Yeah. Well, what are some of those things off the top of your head that you think the NCAA or regulating bodies could do to make sure, it doesn't go down that slippery slope?
Yeah. I think it always starts with communication. Everything starts with the communication. And so for me, some sort of alliance. I was a part of a group that tried to create some sort of association this past summer. It kind of fell through. I didn't appreciate how it went through. But at the same time, I learned a lot about what an association would look like. I don't think that it's any time to unionize. I think that would be a different world and really not one that college sports needs right now.
Not good, no.
No. But I think just communication. I think it starts with some sort of form or some sort of organization that, I mean, think about it this way. I'm going to the NFL now. Once I get to the NFL, there's the NFLPA, and they help me assist my journey. They tell me about the good, the bad, the ugly of the journey, what I'm going to deal with, who I can go to, but in this period of time, I gotta figure it out, right? I gotta make that transition. But it's helpful to have all those different people in my corner, and really in it for the right reasons. So I think that's kind of the next step is who's going to step up as that group to bridge the gap between this high school to college transition, because right now everybody is recruiting dollars. I'm trying to get the 5-star. I'm trying to get the 4-star. I gotta meet certain requirements for the AD wants us to bring in these people or this money or whatever is going on at each specific school. So I think that there needs to be a third party that really comes in and says, hey, we're here for you because we know what you're going through. And that's where I think it's going to start. And just from a communication perspective, somebody that we can, these young kids can lean on and really get help from, that would be cool to see. And I think it's definitely got to come down the pipe pretty soon.
Yeah, the communication piece is key because it's like everyone's kind of in their own lane. Players are on their own right now. Coaches are on their own. Athletic departments,
right.
Collectives. It's like, how do you communicate between all the groups without unionizing to make it happen? But on that front, and this will kind of lead us right into some of the cool developments you have with your business, Limitless NIL, but it all starts back, and I'll let you kind of tell the story because I'm sure there's some gaps in what I'm even going to say here. But essentially, when you jumped into NIL, you had some problems with the agency model and how they were handling your business. And so instead of just trying to find the right solution, you just said, I'm going to be the solution and set it up. So I'm super curious to learn about that process and where it's headed, where it's going, and some of the recent developments.
Yeah, just to give a little background for anybody who doesn't know. So I started my journey with NIL like everybody else, July 1st, 2021. And 2 years prior, I had a class with a buddy who's now our director of brand relations and works for the company and is part of it, and he's a great dude. His name's Trevor Robinson. But in that class 2 years before, we had a creative advertising class, and we were tasked with the assignment to recreate a brand. And instead of recreating another person's brand or a company's brand, we recreated the Sean Clifford brand for the project. So we did all the brand spot, we did all the logo design and the merchandising and everything, and it really got me hyped about NIL. It got me hyped about sports marketing. I thought that it was so cool to be able to really bring your ideas to life and become a true entrepreneur. We got an A on the project on top of that, so it went really well.
Let's go.
But so that was 2 years prior. So when July 1st hit, I quite literally picked up the phone and called Trevor, and I said, hey, man, what are you doing right now? It had been a little bit since we talked because with COVID, it got pushed. So I said, hey, what are you doing right now? I would love some support. I don't want to jump into an agency just because I don't want to sign anything currently. I want to keep everything open, but I really want a manager, somebody who can just help me with time management, understand my day-to-day, be a young guy who understands what's going on. And so Trevor was there for me all that 2021 year, and it was great. I had no distractions during the season. I was able to fulfill NIL requirements that I had and make some money and develop my brand and everything like that in between. So when I'd made the decision to come back for my 6th year, I wanted to do it differently just because I didn't want to go with an agency. I wanted to go with something that I could create because I knew that I was hearing what was being said in the locker room. I was hearing what other sports groups were talking about. I was in ADLI, the Athlete Development Leadership Institution for Penn State, and I was hearing inklings of a little bit of everything, what the coaches want, what the AD's talking about, what the players are talking about. So I felt like I was in a really good position to make that move and to be able to support athletes on a different level. So we took, our first client was Jair Brown, love him to death, for taking the jump and being with us. Grew it from Jair to 3, 5, 10, 15, and we just have been expanding ever since. But we really created a company that was for the player, by the player, for the athlete, by the athlete mentality. I brought in people that I felt understood athletes, either former athletes or understood them on a deeper basis. When it came to employees, I ran the team the same way that the Penn State football program was ran, with team meetings and making sure that people were on time and accountable and everything in between. So I really wanted to create that workforce that resembled a football team or a sports team. And we did that in year one. I think that we had a really fun year. I think that we did some really cool partnerships, and we got to talk to so many different people, and I got to meet people like you and the likes of sports industry leaders across the country, and really be able to cement my name as somebody who's trying to be an entrepreneur in this space. And then I met Pat Waters, who is a part of team and is our CEO now currently, because Pat came to us, and it just started with merchandising, actually. It was just a quick conversation. I met him through another friend, and he came up to our office, and at the time, funny story, so we were I lived at the Yards at Old State, which is, this really nice complex, a nice apartment, and then in the summer, there's really no one there because it's State College. Everyone goes home.
Right.
So I went ahead and called up the Yards and said, hey, you have this area, the big, like the lobby, and you have the guest house in the area where, there's a big office space and all these different offices. So I called the Yards and I said, there's not many people around. Can we use it as our own office space? Like, operate out of there. And not saying that we're going to kick people out, but we'll just be in there every day. Is that okay? So we use that as our office space. So Pat Waters rolls up, and he's pretty impressed with how we're operating. We have athletes coming in and out. We're taking pictures. We're doing photo shoots. There's, I'm in one room. We have a conference going in the other room. There's a lot going on. So he was like, okay, these guys are doing it differently. This team's doing it really differently, which was cool. And I appreciate everybody that's came through and been a part of the Limitless team. It's been really cool to see the growth of what we've been able to do. But over time, Pat just saw that vision, and he wanted to be a part of it on a very different level. So we got an offer that we really couldn't pass up. I won't go into the numbers too deep. I know that a lot of people have been wondering, what did that deal look like? And I can speak on it now. I'm now positioned on a board of a C Corp for team. I'm going to be able to make decisions for student athletes going forward that I know will help us. I know will position us in the right way. It was I'll just call it out. I'm not going to say the number, but it was a multi-million-dollar buyout opportunity for me and my team that I could distribute that equity pool with. Now that we're in, we have an equity pool with team. We were able to position ourselves very well for the future, for our financial future, and the budgeting and just everything in between, to really fundraise this correctly and make sure that the athletes are getting what they need. Because I felt like, although we did a lot of good, we fell short a lot of the times with some athletes. And it's part of being a startup. You're not going to be perfect. I understood that. I had to come to terms with that because I wanted everybody to get the best experience. But sometimes, as you're trying to scale and you're trying to grow and you're trying to talk to more athletes, some things slip through the cracks. So it was one of those things where I knew that I needed more help. I needed more assistance with what my biggest plans were. And that's where the partnership with Team came to fruition. And it's been really cool. And so we're rebranding it. We're really trying to build this out. We're actually going to go off of a new system. When anybody asks how Limitless goes about their business, it's off of the 4E system. It's education, education, exercise, execution, and exit. And so in those 4 steps, we're going to be able to educate our athletes on NIL and their brand and everything in between. We're going to be able to exercise with them to really help them with their schedule, their content schedule, their time management, be able to put people in place so that way they don't have to worry about it as much pretty much take a lot of burden off their back and then execute, obviously, on brand deals and merchandising and everything in between that they want to accomplish, opening up their own business, whatever it might be. We're going to be able to have those tools and then exit. And that's something that is very personal to me, and will be developed over time. But it's going to be that plan of, okay, it's your senior year, you might not want to go pro, or you might not have the opportunity to go into the professional division. What's next? And that's going to be that exit. Same way a company exits is I want to be able to help athletes make that transition. So we have a lot of big plans. It's cool to be able to talk about it publicly now because it's been hush-hush for months. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Dude, I love it, man. That's awesome. Great shit, honestly.
Thank you.
I know we pushed this podcast back to allow you, so I'm glad you just have that little segment there. I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I've loved what you have done. But I guess kind of go into, and I know you laid out the 4 pillars, but like say you bring Jair in, or you're bringing a new Penn State athlete in. Like, just kind of walk through, like, an example of, like, some of the things that it would look like. I think a lot of people are always curious of, like, okay, an athlete's making NIL money, but what does it look like throughout that whole step? What's really going into this process that you're pushing them through towards exit, as you call it?
Yeah, 100%. It's the 4 E's, like I talked about. So that first part of education is really that onboarding, meeting the team, understanding who we are, taking brand surveys, scheduling appointments with our financial arm, which is Beacon Point, which is a partnership that I'm really, proud of. They started with us from the jump, and it's only going to get better. It's actually with one of my best friends. His name's Matt Bockhorst. He went to St. Xavier High School with me. He was my left tackle. So he had my blind side back then, and now he's got my client's blind side now. That's kind of the thing that we've been going off of. But Beacon Point's been able to provide financial literacy and education for all of our athletes for free. And usually it's a pretty hefty cost to get into an advisory firm like that, and they lowered all their costs. They want to help athletes. They want to be there for athletes moving forward. They want to be there for influencers as well. Anybody that is trying to really navigate this landscape, I appreciate what Beacon Point's done. So they're going to be, right on the onboarding portion. You schedule a meeting with, Matt and his team and get free guidance and investment opportunities and what have you, kind of see where you're at. Schedule, meetings with our team for the brand strategy workshop. Aeneas Hawkins, who is a former Penn State athlete with us, awesome dude. He's going to be breaking down everybody's brands and really helping you understand, okay, what is it about your brand that you really want to really amplify? What are your mission? What is your vision? What is your goals? What is your values? What's your target audience? The things that, people don't talk about because a lot of people, get so caught up in the money. Well, how can we build on your brand all the goals and dreams and aspirations that you have so that way you can attain them? And so being able to do that, and then, from that, exercising portion of hawk getting with people and being able to really dive into everything, then it's that execution. And that's where, being able to opt into opportunities that you see fit, being able to have, whatever it might be, merchandising opportunities, marketing opportunities, social media management opportunities. The world is really limitless when it comes to that, and that's what is so exciting about NIL is it's really whatever you make of it. It's if you could be as little involved as possible, or you could change your life and create a company. So that's really the vision that I have. I want every athlete to see the same vision that I saw with Limitless. I want everybody to be able to create whatever they want, whatever their goals are, and I want to be that arm to be able to kind of assist you every single step of the way. So.
Yeah, I'm curious on what learning curves did you have to go through at all? Like when you're going through this process, I went through it. Me and Adam Brenneman, we talk about this. Like there's a lot. What were some of those for you throughout this whole process, from athlete to entrepreneur to investor?
Yep.
The full scope to building a business.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's that financial literacy education, and it's that there's a difference between your day-to-day as an athlete and your day-to-day as an entrepreneur. Because it's one thing to be able to, go about your day and work out and get your film in and be able to be with the team. And it's a tough life. Like, it definitely is. But when you add that extra layer of, okay, now I'm got to talk to this company by myself and I have to negotiate this deal, and I also want to do Sean Clifford t-shirts, and I want to do lessons for younger athletes. How do I navigate all this? I want to do so much. Like, how do I put the time and the scheduling and the effort in? And that's what I really created in 2021 for myself, and that's what I want to now create for hundreds of athletes moving forward. So
That's awesome. Yeah, and then you're an angel investor in Strive,
yeah,
which super cool. What is it, like compression tech?
Yeah, it's
type pants.
Very cool.
And then the player's wallet.
Yep.
If you can just give any on the investor side, because that's a whole different side of the equation than even why you chose equity over endorsement for those.
Yeah, I think that private equity is a fun, obviously very lucrative, but at times scary place to navigate. There's a lot that can go good, it can go wrong, and I just find it very interesting. As a business owner, as somebody who created something from nothing, I just appreciate a good idea. I appreciate a good company. I appreciate, I think I've learned over time what makes a good company. I always thought it was all, you have the best product and it's this and that, but realistically, it's the people, it's the service, it's the sales team, it's the founders, it's the people behind the scenes that are running it that really make it go. And I just found that so interesting. And as I've grown my mind and continue to grow, learning a ton from people like you who have so much knowledge in this space and are learning alongside. I think that's the beauty of this, is it's different than football. It's different than, it's a new challenge that I've never seen before. Football, it makes reading cover 4 pretty simple when you're doing all this on the side. So I think that's been the biggest thing for me, being able to balance it myself. I created the team that I have so that way I could step away when I need to and do what I need to do to pursue the sport that I love, and I've been able to do that. I haven't missed a meeting. I've been able to pursue my NFL career now and work out all morning. I mean, we were talking about my schedule, waking up early in the morning, checking some emails, then going to work out, getting my nutrition in, and then coming back and then working out here from, 3 o'clock to whatever time I got to close my laptop. But it's really about how do you allocate your time? That's what I've learned is I thought it was going to be a lot harder, but when you have passion for everything that you do, it's really easy because it's just fun. It's just what you do every day. So it's been a blast.
Fun. I think that's the one nice thing too about NIL, just even athletes in business, is now you use the athletics to push forward and find that entrepreneurship or that passion. And then you never really are in something that you don't like.
Right.
I went from playing to doing something I like, and there wasn't never like a job or something in between I dislike. So I think that's a huge advantage. But I guess Sean here, I try to keep him around 30, 35 minutes. Any, future initiatives, you mentioned the NFL and, what you got going on, and then obviously anything, you want to talk about or shout out and your socials and all that.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think that's my number one goal right now, and that's what's on my mind. Now that I have this team around me, quite literally team, the parent company and the team that I have at Limitless, I'm able to pursue that NFL dream wholeheartedly. So I'm working toward it. I want it more than anything in the world. I think that it really goes back to when I was a kid, watching the NFL and watching the greats play and just seeing the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys, and now it's right in front of me to be able to be a part of that league and that group. It's really not about the money. It's not about the fame and the fortune and all that. It's about that 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid who chose this lifestyle and chose the opportunity to play football, accomplishing that dream. So that's where my head's at. I'm still working, still doing Limitless because it's fun. Instead of video games, I just do work and ideate and get to have fun with my company and talk to people like you. But in the end, I really do want to keep pursuing that. and I wanna continue to be a beacon of light for anybody else who's in this space and in the sports industry, because I think it's the coolest industry in the world. I really do. I think it's the epitome of bringing everybody together. That's what sports is. And Coach Franklin actually said it the best back in 2020, and when we were missing football and missing sports, is the locker room is really the melting pot of the world. It's where guys, girls come together. They don't look at race. They don't look at religion. They don't look at your background, where you're from, how much money your parents made. It's all about team. And it's all about the person next to you and how can you support them in every shape or form. And that's what I love about sports. That's what I love about athletes. I think we're all wired that way, and that's what's going to make this really go in the future. And I got high hopes for the sports industry moving forward.
Shit, dude, you gave me some goosebumps there. That was spot on. It is what sports is. I always say it's like the complete mixing of all the things you said, but also where you find the most elite performers, physically, athletically, mentally, to overcome adversity, and then also, the smart, where they can jump right into the boardroom or a business or investing, and they seem to become pretty successful. So, Sean, I guess just to close this out, any of your socials where people can find you, more about Team, Limitless NIL, that would be awesome.
Yeah, you can find Limitless at Limitless NIL pretty much on every platform, and then my socials is just Sean Cliff 14 across the board. Just using the 14. I don't know what number I'm about to be, but it'll be Sean Cliff 14 on social. So
14's the best number. You can see it
I
right
love it.
there.
The Boston 14. Go ahead.
Got to. 14's the best. But appreciate it, Sean.
No, thank you, Andrew.